Look at this patch of woodland. Isn't it beautiful? So vibrant, so lush, so green. This is one of my favourite places to come and hang out, and I often do when I'm feeling stressed or overloaded or overwhelmed, or even if I just need to work through some things. And it takes me back to my childhood, because that's what I spent a lot of my childhood hours doing, outside, connected to the forest and the landscape around me. Being connected, being in tune with nature is part of our true being. It's part of our human experience. It's part of our authentic pathway. When you think back to the first Homo sapiens on the plains of East Africa 200,000 years ago, we evolved generation after generation as hunter-gatherers. To be a good hunter-gatherer, you had to be in tune with your environment. You had to be connected to the land around you just to survive. If you weren't, well, then your chances of survival were pretty slim. So when we connect with nature, we're following this ancestral DNA that's passed down to us. When we're disconnected from nature, we perhaps feel more out of sync, more out of harmony, maybe a little bit even more depressed or anxious. So getting outdoors and being in the natural environment is good for us. That's scientifically proven. Now, no matter how well placed our plans are in life, no matter how well everything seems to be going for us, sometimes life throws us lemons, as we all know. Sometimes you get an unexpected knockback, and that can throw us off kilter. And Mike Tyson, that famous philosopher and obviously world champion boxer, had a classic saying that was, everybody's got a plan until they're punched in the mouth. Now, no matter how best placed our plans are, no matter how well life is going for us, sometimes we get that unexpected punch. And to emphasize that, I'm going to take you back to some of my own experiences. And we're going back to the spring and early summer of 2011 and leading into 2012. So I was living and working in the English Midlands. I was a ranger in a big environmental education centre. I loved it. I went to work every day with a spring in my step, educating and enthusing about the natural world. It was a dream job for me. And life at home was good. I was in a loving, stable relationship. We'd not long actually bought a house, and not long previously we thought was out of our reach. So we had a dream home, dream job. I was ticking all the boxes, emotionally, socially, physically, professionally. Life was good. But then things started to unravel a little bit. I think some tension started to creep in at work. Maybe I was just outgrowing my particular job role, but I felt like myself and my boss were moving in different directions. He was leaning one way, I was leaning the other way. So that was leading to a little bit of discord or disharmony. And then over time, some of my trusted work colleagues were kind of stepping back, and there was Chinese whispers happening, and I wasn't quite sure who to trust anymore. And that obviously is not such a good working environment to be in. Inevitably, that crept into my home life as well, because I would go home and maybe moan a bit more than I used to, which wouldn't have been much fun for my partner to be listening to every day. And also we were having the pressure of this huge mortgage, this huge financial pressure just looming down on us. It was relentless. So yeah, life maybe didn't have quite so much fun at that particular time, but you know, you suck it up, you get on with things, and you just push on through as best you can. But over time, I think the work situation was getting worse and worse, and it just wasn't a fun environment to be in anymore. So eventually I made the decision, it's time to step away, it's time to start a new chapter. And that's what I did. But you know, that was a tough time, because it, again, the financial pressure, huge, and it led to a little bit of uncertainty and a bit of tension at home, because there was always this pressure to be bringing money in, of course, which, you know, I'm tenacious. I got out there and did as many different jobs as I could, driving, factories, retail, whatever I could. But there wasn't perhaps the same financial security as you need when you've got that big burden bearing down on you. But again, pushed on through as best as I could. But you know what used to keep me going was my little nephew Owen in America. 6 years old. Owen had been born with severe health defects. He wasn't given much hope or chance in this life. But he was a little fighter. I was inspired by his fighting spirit. He just pushed on through. He always radiated joy and energy, and he always had a smile on his face despite all the health issues that he was dealing with. And I remember specifically one Zoom call I had with my sister and her children, and Owen was just bouncing around with his energy. He's on top of the sofa, jumping off, like saying, "Look at me, Uncle Gerry, I can fly." You know, and me and my sister would be covering our eyes, going, "Oh my God, Owen, take care, please." But he just lived this kind of fearless life despite, you know, all his health issues that he had to cope with, and he really, really inspired me. And I used to think, what have I got to worry about? Here's this little boy who's been through the mill again and again and again, and he's just radiating joy. So I pushed on through, and I kept going as best I could. And then one morning, not long after, I got the biggest punch in the mouth. Early morning phone call from my mum, and she told me that Owen had passed away. And you know, that was a knockout blow. Didn't see it coming, didn't expect it. We thought he'd got over the worst of his issues, and life was going well for him. So it really knocked us all for six. It just, how do you even begin to process that or deal with that? Suddenly all the other little trivial kind of stresses that I thought I had, they were insignificant. They didn't really matter. This was something monumental. So I knew I needed to be with my family. I knew I needed to go and spend time. So somehow I got the money together, and I got myself on a plane, and I found myself in New York to be with my parents and my sister and her other children. And obviously that was a deeply traumatic time for us, but it was also deeply healing. We celebrated Owen as best we could. We cried, of course, but we also laughed and shared memories and spoke about how brave he was. And we honoured him as best as we could. But you know, a couple of days later, I brought Owen's brother and sister up into the Appalachian Trail. We went hiking up in the woods. And something about that day was so magic for me. You just brought back this whole joy and wonder of being outdoors, of being connected to the land. Despite all the trauma and pain that we were processing and dealing with at that time, we had so many wonderful memories. I remember just the vibrancy of the day so clearly, even now, all these years later. Just the sights, the sounds, the smells, the trees, everywhere around us. It was just incredible. We would hear the woodpeckers. We went looking for salamanders. Just this kind of feeling of being in the forest was magic, and it brought me back to my childhood, and seeing my other nephew and my niece enjoying that time outdoors was really magic. We had the most wonderful day, and it felt like a little gift from Owen to us. And that kind of reset my brain. It rewired my thinking. When I got back to the UK, I thought, I'm not going to let all this work that I've put in slip away. So I worked really hard and refocused myself on rebuilding my ranger persona. And I knew it would only be a matter of time before I'd get another job that would make my heart sing again. And that's what happened. Here I am all these years later, living in the Forest of Dean, once more educating and enthusing about the environment and the natural world on a daily basis. So life is good. So my takeaway to you would be, when life gets tough, when life throws you lemons, when you get that punch in the mouth, take some time, go outdoors, have mindful time in the woodland, in your local park, in your garden even. Do some cloud gazing, sit by the trees, whatever it is you need to do. Just take some quiet time out in nature. It doesn't suddenly wipe all your stresses and cares away. It's not a magic pill in that capacity, but it will help to reset you, recenter you, get you back onto a more authentic pathway again, get you back feeling in tune with yourself again, and just focus on those simple things around you, and bit by bit by bit, you'll find the focus you need in your life again, and you'll find where you need to be.